guys. Thanks for joining us for part 3 of episode 3, Jealousy and Envy. We're here back at the T.M.T. podcast. I'm Terrence.
Miles.
Tim.
And we're going to get it kicking off again.
All right, so I have a question for you guys. So, have y'all ever been jealous or envious? Don't matter. Let's just stick with jealousy for family. But have y'all ever been jealous of family? And I'll start, honestly, because I have a younger sister, and let's just say she's everything we were talking about last. I believe it was the very first part of this series was how younger people, they are more envious about looks and romance and school achievement and social status. Well, let's just say my sister had all that. Like, she was a pretty girl, you know. She was really good at school. Like, she was pretty well known in my school and all that. And I was just, the older brother. And, my parents, I love them to death and they love me. I know this. But, sometimes based off of the things that she did, I will be jealous of her because, they valued a lot of the stuff that I felt like they valued a lot of stuff that she did more sometimes because it was stuff that adults would see. Oh, my kid's getting great grades. He's so involved, getting all these college offers and all that, scholarship thing, like all that. So for me, I was really jealous of my sister. Sometimes, I'm not saying I was all the time, but growing up, sometimes that jealousy of feeling like the less child, in a sense, kind of bothered me. Now, I still felt value because my parents would reiterate that. But as a kid, you don't always feel that way when your siblings are doing so much more than you or whatever for whatever. Because she's just blessed and she's great. But at the same time, I didn't always feel that way. So what do y'all think for family? Because for me, that's just my experience. But I'm sure a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah, for sure. You go ahead.
I feel like for me, with Faith coming into the world.
And who's Faith again?
Faith is my freshly 12-year-old niece.
Oh, wow.
Happy birthday, Faith. Happy birthday. So with her, I was always the baby, the youngest, and I was the only boy. So, I can understand from the other side of it that, I was looked upon by my sisters probably differently. I can't really speak for them, but I know that could be how they felt. But with her, she's talented. She can sing, she can act, dance, anything that you could really put in front of this little girl. I've yet to see her not be able to do it. And, I'm more so happy about it, but she gets a big head. And I always joke around and say I have to bully her to, bring her back down to earth. I don't suggest it, but it's a method that works for me. But I'll say it from the other side looking in. It can cause jealousy inside the family, and with that, it can tend to break up the family. So me and my sisters, we're all close knit. We're really good. I can call them for anything, and let's just say it got to the point to where they were sick of hearing about me, bruh. What is that going to lead to in our now 20s and almost 30s? They're not going to want anything to do with me. Right?
It's interesting.
So, that jealousy stems from I don't want to say getting the attention that everybody needs, but if they show favoritism to one person, that can be a cause of that jealousy in the family. That's and true. I don't want to say I see that going to my niece, but, just watch how you treat people, how you act towards people. Mm-hmm. Because you never know how it's going to turn out later on down the road. Right. People can still hold that grudge, this nigga,
yeah,
it can still be jealous or envious of them, right, just because of how they were treated in their situation.
Yeah. Sometimes I think it's like what you were saying. It's a jealousy of validation. That's what sometimes people can be envious of validation. I can say that. Mm-hmm. They can be jealous and envious of it because if you have validation, you might feel like the validation is going to be taken away from you. Like we talked about, something that you have that can be taken away. But if you've been validated, you've already been validated. That's established.
Yeah.
But it can shift. I put it that way, to somebody else. But to answer your question, I say I've dealt with that. In my way, I would say in sports. Like when I was younger, first time I started playing football, I was 6 years old, Little League, and I did not care. I didn't understand one lick of football at all. Like I'm more of an analytical person, and I was when I was young, so I would make everything technical, It would, make it harder for me to show my natural talent because I would be overthinking everything. And my brothers, they wasn't like that. They was just,
natural.
Go out and have fun. You know what I'm saying? It was just naturally talented. So I had the talent, but my analytics always overrode that. And so, it could be simple stuff. Somebody could already be down, and I would go jump on a pal or hit the person real late. My team got a flag every single time, And I'm like, okay, I just hit him. Like I didn't understand that stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like as a kid, jealousy really stems from if you can do something, but someone else can do it better in your family.
Right. Yeah. And that's the part where I would get jealous at because I always had to outwork everybody rather than just it naturally come to me, And my coaches would always have to tell me like, man, stop overthinking it. Just let your talent show. And it probably took up until I was probably I would say 7th grade to high school to really get to that point where I stopped overthinking the game. And so even in the weight room, I would have to outwork everybody. And it got to the point where I started to appreciate it, though. I think you can come to the point where you appreciate the thing because I appreciated my hard work rather than everybody else's talent, And so I didn't become envious anymore, jealous of what they showed naturally because I knew I would have to make up for it and it would serve me better in the long run, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
No, I was going to just kind of go on that sports topic before we get off of it. How do I want to word this? Because there is a lot of that, coaches can show, favoritism too.
Yeah.
And that can be detrimental to a player's confidence, development. I've had times where coaches are like, well, why can't you do what he's doing? We're built different.
Right.
I can't do that.
Right.
I can't do that. So, how can a coach, not how can a coach, what a coach says can make or break you from an early age. And depending on, some people can take it, some people can't. And that constructive criticism, as they want to say it is, it's not really. It's not. It's judgment. It's judgment coming from them. That can cause jealousy, or is it jealousy or envy? What is it?
I'm glad you said that because I feel like a lot of coaches, not even just coaches, but just people in general that have an opinion about you or whatever it is that you bring to whatever.
Yeah.
If you are too busy identifying what another person can do rather than what another person can do rather than what you can't, then you're going to be only worried about what you can't do.
Yeah.
So then when you can't do that one thing or two things or three things that someone else is doing, you're going to be jealous of that person that can because nobody has emphasized to you what you can do.
Right.
And then that's where the jealousy comes from. And that goes back to what we was talking about the last time about communication and reassurance.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if Tim can't shoot, not saying you can't, I'm just saying in general. Like, if I'm a coach and Tim can't shoot and he doesn't have good lateral quickness, so he can't defend that well, but he's athletic and he's a hard worker. Let's just say someone else on the team has all four of those characteristics. If I'm saying, all right, Tim, you can't shoot and you're not good on defense, that's it. But he's good, though. He's good at everything. Why can't you be like that? The way that's going to be that's going to be detrimental to his let's say you're like a child too. Like, let's say you're like 9, you don't really know everything, but you know enough to where you want to be good, Right. So at that age, that's not going to be a confidence booster. Like, yeah, all right, I got to get better at. That's going to be like, dang, I can't do these two important things in basketball.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of coaches do that, especially with younger kids, because they just want you to, oh, you're just not good at that. You got to take the criticism. But like you said, it's not constructive because you're not emphasizing what he can do. Now, the way you should do it is, all right, you're good at this, but you could use some work on this. Maybe you can work on this with, the dude that actually can be good. You feel me?
Words mean everything. Instead of saying what you can't do or, man, you're not the best at that, we're going to put so-and-so there. Instead of replacing that person, build up what they're lacking in.
Right.
Compliment their strengths, but build up
their weaknesses.
And y'all got anything else? I want to ask y'all something.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So I want to talk about attitudes when it comes to jealousy and envy, because I feel like this is a big factor in a lot of places, a lot of communities. I don't want to make it a black and white thing. I don't want to make it a race thing at all. But I feel like it does take place in certain demographics more than others. And I feel like also in this place that we consider to be the hood, which is really just a mentality. But I feel like, just like I said, in these certain demographics, when it comes to jealousy and envy, it can happen in anything, in business, in school, and friendships. Your attitude about things can change everything when it comes to somebody being jealous or envy. For example, like, say I have something, right? Say I don't want to use me. Say there's somebody who has something, they're wealthy, established, right? And anybody can look at them and say, man, I really like what they got, right? That other person, they might admire what that person has, and they'll go up to them like, hey, man, I really like, what you're doing and things like that. And the other person who has already been established, they can come off real nasty and negative. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, man, you condescending and talking down, looking down on them, real snobbish. And that can make that other person's attitude be to the point where, shoot, all right, I don't want to take anything from you. I'll just get it out the mud. Now they become jealous and envy of you because instead of you lending a hand out, you rejected them. You put them down. And in another sense, it can be to where, say that person is established, again, right? You have somebody else on the outside who isn't. And that person who's established wants to help you, right? And they're like, okay, I want to help you get a foot off the ground. But then when they try to approach you like that, you come off real snobbish and having an attitude like, oh, man, you think you better. You think you this, you think you that. They're not like that at all. They just trying to lend a helping hand because they want to see you where they're at, know? But when you come off like that, it's like, okay, shoot, forget it. I don't even want to help you no more because your attitude sucks. Mm-hmm. And then that ruins everything for you. It shuts down doors. And I feel like then it comes to a point where now you're jealous and envious again, but that stemmed from you, how you came off. That's a good point. And I think we need to really focus on our attitudes when it comes to how we deal with people,
For sure. And I feel like that goes back to pride again.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
More of, it's really just a pride thing. Like, if you feel like you're above somebody else or you feel like you're too good to get help from somebody else, it will lead to your destruction every single time because you're not open-minded to learn. And if you're not open-minded to learn, you're going to be in the same spot, jealous and envious of other people that are getting places you could get to, but you just don't want to because you have this certain level of thinking where you feel like you can't grow and someone tell you something. You know what I mean? And I feel like that is very prominent in certain demographics. But I'll leave it at that, though. But for sure. For sure. It's sad, though, because a lot of people don't have to do that.
Right. It's a cycle. I think it is a cycle. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if we can break away from that, there's so many, man, we would go so much further. It actually creates a crab in a barrel mentality. It's like, oh, I don't want to see you get up there, so I'm going to pull you back down. But the ones that's already up there, it's like, okay, let me reach a hand down and, get you up here. But while I'm reaching a hand down, they trying to pull me down. Instead of, they don't realize I'm trying to bring them up with me. And, man, it's just an ongoing thing. It's just a repeated cycle that it destroys communities, destroys relationships. It's everything. So, but that's it for part 3 and the final part of this series, Jealousy and Envy of the T.M.T. podcast. So, y'all can join us in our next topic or our next series. And we T.M.T. I'm Terrence.
I'm Miles.
And I'm Tim.
And that's it. We out.
Peace.
Peace.